It may be useful to look back at how the U.S. government defended our involvement in Vietnam, all the way to the long overdue pullout. The similarity with viewpoints and statements made by our current leaders is no coincidence. How many times must the cycle of violence, defeat, and grief be repeated?
How do you see it, General?
Very, very encouraged. I've never been more encouraged during my entire almost 4 years in country.
And if you talk to the soldiers that have been over there, that are running missions and convoys and doing patrols, they'll tell you that most of Iraq seems very, very normal. That you go down the street and off on the road and the Iraqi kids come out and wave, and the Iraqi people are open and friendly, the men are open and friendly.
Make no mistake about it. I don't want a man in here to go back home thinking otherwise. We are going to win.
We will fight the enemy and lift the shadow of fear and lead free nations to victory.
The enemy very deceitfully has taken advantage of the truce.
This is an enemy without conscience. They cannot be appeased.
We are on the offensive in Iraq with a clear plan for victory. Progress has not come easily, but it has been steady.
All the challenges have been met. The enemy is not beaten, but he knows that he has met his master in the field.
Yet over time, we can expect to see Iraqi troops chasing down murderers, fewer brazen acts of terror, and growing trust and cooperation from Baghdad's residents.
But elation quickly turned to embarrassment. When the soldiers learned they would not be stationed in their hometowns, half stripped off their uniforms and deserted immediately.
232 GIs killed and 900 wounded makes one of the heaviest weeks of the Vietnam War.
Good evening, everyone. This has been one of the deadliest weekends for Americans in Iraq since the war began.
I thought that the extra troops would be justified only if we use them in a very active policy to force an end of the war on the ground.
So it has to be a sustained, large surge to establish security, gradually expand the zone of security.
How many more years do we have to go before we can get out of Vietnam completely? How long does this go on?
How did these people so early on get so much power that they had more influence in those in the administration to make decisions than you, the professionals?
2 words. Let me put the article in there and make it 3. The Vice President.
But we don't plan to surrender either, and we don't plan to pull out either, and we don't plan to let people influence us and pressure and force us to divide our nation in a time of national peril.
We may have to put our foot down in the short run. Senator Lieberman believes so.
As elected leaders, we cannot conduct our defense and foreign policy, our national security policy, by public opinion polls.
There's a lot of people, good, decent people, saying withdraw now. They're absolutely wrong. Leaving before the job is done would be a disaster.
I shall not seek, and I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president.
And I know with certainty that over time, the contributions you've made will be recorded by history.
The decision to strike these targets was made to restrict and to make more costly the enemy's infiltration efforts.
I think Vice President Cheney has been a stalwart, and he is a constitutionally elected officer, and I think he'll continue to be an outstanding leader for the country.
You think he remains Vice President?
I have no reason to believe he won't be the Vice President through his term.
I understand that there has been and continues to be opposition to the war in Vietnam on the campuses and also in the nation. As far as this kind of activity is concerned, we expect it. However, under no circumstances will I be affected whatever by it.
They can't shake my nerve. They just can't shake it. So long as I think I'm doing the right thing, and so long as we can win, I'm going to leave our kids there because it's necessary for the security of this country. If I didn't think that we could win, I'd pull them out.
Lies about war never change, only the places, dates, and names of the dead. But other models of conflict solving exist, ones that put our shared humanity before fears and threats. Here's a clip from an outstanding report filed by 60 Minutes last year, showing how the U.S. could obtain real security with generosity and compassion.
Helicopters drop food to villages, but there are no relief workers on the ground, except for, listen to this, 13 paramedics from New York City. They came to Pakistan with no backing or support or agenda except to help. This is Bin Laden country, dotted with training camps for jihadists, where Islam is at its most radical and America is seen as the enemy. But now, people were walking for miles to be treated by the Americans. Some 200 a day were making their way to the clinic. Yasser Bashir Coker brought his little sister to the clinic.
Had you ever seen Americans before you came here?
No. No, first time.
What was your impression? What did you think of the Americans?
They are very cooperative, beautiful and handsome.
They are very beautiful, cooperative and handsome, you say?
Yeah.
They didn't come to win hearts and minds, but to save lives. Hearts and minds just seem to follow. And that's fine with Steve Muth.
We can inoculate an entire valley, if we're lucky, against radical Islam, because, you know...
Against radical Islam, against anti-Americanism.
Right. And it's so simple. I'm just a paramedic. It's just a bandage. It's not, it's not $100 million ad campaign for Madison Avenue. It's nothing, it's not complicated. Could something work better to change somebody's mind? I can't think of anything.
Let's just get him going. He has about an hour. Yeah.
You give him back his son. His son's going to be fine. You can see it in their eyes. They're not going to forget you. They're not going to forget you're from where you're from. It'll be 2 generations. They'll still be saying, when you were a kid, it was the Americans that came after the earthquake. They won't forget.
Coming up soon, Daniel Noel takes us on an animated exploration of happiness. But first, we'll conclude our news section with a few impassioned words from Bill Moyers.
It starts when you care to act. It starts when you do it again after they said no. It starts when you say we and know who you mean, and each day you mean one more.
Stay with us.
Let's say 1 cookie equals $10 billion. The Pentagon's annual budget is 42 cookies, or $420 billion a year. That's more than $1 billion a day, and that doesn't even include the costs of the Afghan and Iraq wars. So, how much do you think we spend on this other stuff? Not much. And that's why our schools don't work and children are left out in the cold. The government makes it sound like it's impossible to solve these problems, but it's not. Here's how we could do it. Just take 7 cookies a year off this pile. Use 1 cookie to rebuild our schools, and 3 to eliminate our need for all Persian Gulf oil. Then take the last 3 cookies. You've all done this before. Use 1 1/4 to feed the 6 million kids around the world who die of starvation each year. 1 to provide health care for all uninsured children, and 1/4 to provide Head Start for every kid who needs it. You can eat the remaining half cookie, but remember, that's $5 billion. Try not to choke.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like more people in your area to see our show, why not sponsor us on Public Access TV? Contact us by email and we'll walk you through the process. I'm Kevin Quinn, and we'll see you next month. Liberty News TV depends on the generous support of our viewers. For more information, visit our website.